What's up guys, I'm here to do a review on the latest chapter of the One Piece manga that was just released today. Um, I'm going to do something new just for the heck of it because I see a lot of reviewers do it too, and I guess it does make it more succinct in a way. Basically, I'm just going to talk from the top of my head. Usually I have some sort of laptop next to me which I can do like a play-by-play of the pages of the manga uh, for you so I can thoroughly review it. However, because this laptop is made in a way so that you can't record and use it at the same time, I can't do that. So it's still okay because I guess I get to try out this new thing. I have done it a few times before in my previous videos, but there you have it. This week's chapter of One Piece, and again, spoiler alert, first and final. This week's chapter of One Piece, there's a lot to be said. I want to get the most important points down, so I'm assuming you've read it, and therefore I'm going to go from the most important points. It's not going to be chronological. Big news at the end, huge news. We find out that the factory that manufactures Smile is underneath the Colosseum. So it seems like the Don Quixote family, or at least Don Flamingo, has everything almost planned out already. He has everything set up, and this proves it because, I mean, the whole thing with Luffy being drawn in and Smile being underneath is just perfect for him. Obviously, something huge is going to go down. They wouldn't have placed the tournament there if there was any other reason. And there's a lot of implications. Maybe, just maybe, all those like dark historic figures that used to fight in the Colosseum may have been enslaved to be working and manufacturing Smile like the rest of the dwarves. And maybe, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. There's probably a reason why they chose to hold the tournament there. I mean, it'd be risky holding a tournament so close to like your most precious manufacturing plant. So I'm assuming they're concocting something, maybe immediately using the Smile they manufacture underneath the Colosseum to maybe capture Luffy. And personally, I feel like Luffy's been trapped the entire time. He's been baited the entire time. I mean, Luffy's very simple-minded, so Don Flamingo, he knew that this was a fruit Luffy could not resist because it's his brothers, it's aces. So he just holds the tournament, puts the fruit there, Luffy follows the bait, being simple-minded as he is, and that's it. However, I mean, there's been so many hundreds of chapters of One Piece, I know typically how it goes down. My speculation, Luffy does this sort of thing constantly, but he makes up for it because he is in fact very, very strong. So he makes up for his simple-mindedness by just killing everyone or beating everyone. He doesn't really kill people, but he beats everyone there. So despite him being very simple-minded and going for the fruit, most likely what he's going to do or aiming to do is just take the fruit, win the tournament, and then beat everyone including Don Flamingo. That's the typical series of how an arc goes, generally, very generally speaking. So again, I still have faith in Luffy. Again, another interesting point, we then go into the whole thing about this dark, spoiled princess who is the princess of the dwarves, and there's not much said other than she works at the factory, but because of what's implied through her description, we can assume that she's spoiled because she has chosen to side with the Don Flamingo family, possibly even helping them enslave her own race in order to gain her own selfish benefits. Possibly, who knows? Maybe she gets a few of the fruits for Smile, and that's my speculation for that. Another thing is, what's up with Smile? I mean, it seems like it's obviously a successful concoction and they're mass producing it, but it seems like a very confirmed, concluded sort of fruit which they have decided works, and basically they're saying, you know, this has been scientifically proven to work, we're gonna mass produce it. Although it's not like a Logia type fruit, it is like a medium tier fruit that they can give to the masses, thus making ordinary weak people very strong. And therefore, Doflamingo is pretty much making a huge army of devil fruit users, which is massively huge. They're going to be super strong, despite, individually they're not that strong because the fruit's not that big. However, it leads to implications because if you can scientifically deduce how to make a devil fruit, potentially, then maybe one day in the future they will have the technology to make the best type, which is Logia type devil fruit, and create, maybe mass produce an army of high level Logia type fruit users. But I doubt it. I mean, that would just wreck the whole series. Maybe it'll be a movie, I don't know. But then movies are non-canon, so will I watch it? Probably not. Maybe. Maybe. I mean, that's still a good plot line. However, back to the story. Again, before I get into this, I do have to lay off the review. Or not lay off, just I have to tell you the review. Just because I might forget later and because it's so great. This chapter with so few pages, I would say 18 pages, which is roughly average for a manga. But regardless, this chapter jam-packed with so much flavor, so much plot, so much stuff that I have to give it a good rating. I'm not going to give you the final rating yet, but I will say it is at least 7.5. So it is at least very, very solid. And continuing on, I do have to say, the last thing would be Qin Zhao's statement. So Qin Zhao is definitely a veteran. One could say he's a long-time veteran, up in the ranks with all the highest tier people of One Piece. At least the old people of One Piece. Shanks, I don't know. I mean, Shanks is still pretty young, so I wouldn't consider him up there. He is high tier, but he's not old. So this guy's definitely a veteran, and he is on the ranks with Garp and all those other people, Rayleigh, and he just shows like how much experience and stuff he has and how strong he is. And this is one of those characters where, like Garp, I'm confused because it's like you're so strong and yet you're not that strong. You're not one of the four pirate kings that ruled the new world seas, and neither are you like in the top tier of the Marines, and yet you have all this experience and you're still very, very strong. So it's kind of like a disconnect, and I experienced that with Garp because I mean Garp has so many connections. He's like good friends with Goldie Roger, and it's very confusing because he seems so strong and yet he's not that strong, and the best he's been is a vice admiral. And yes, I know he refused the admiral title, but how strong is he? I mean, we didn't really see his strength in the whole Marineford arc, the big battle. So it's very confusing. Was he even there? Did he choose not to fight there? I can't remember. Or, I mean, it's just very strange. Like, for him to have so many connections with so many powerful people, you'd assume him to be on the power level of maybe Goldie Roger or Rayleigh. But I don't know. It's very uncertain about his power level. Maybe he's just weak, and he's not weak, but he's not at the highest tier, and yet he just makes connections because he's a good, friendly guy, or who knows. Regardless, Luffy mentioning Rayleigh strikes a chord with Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao, I have more respect for him now. He has all these connections. He's a veteran. He starts crying. Who knows what's going on? Basically, he says something about how he almost reached a treasure, and then he could almost grasp it, but he could never attain it. Maybe that's One Piece. Maybe he was somehow stopped indefinitely from ever reaching One Piece, despite being able to maybe travel there, but unable to collect One Piece. Who knows? But we do have some reference. That's my guess. That's my prediction. So Qin Zhao, a lot of old roots, and I said this last chapter, but the implication is that he lost his devil fruit powers somehow, or something was stolen from him that cannot be returned. Now for the biggest thing and the final thing to be said about this chapter, and don't forget to like, rate, comment, and subscribe before you click away. But the biggest thing is the ending, or not the meat of the chapter, which is the toys. And I predicted this ever since the chapter ages ago, where it was revealed that there was a girl, part of the Don Quixote family, who could change humans or objects into toy versions of themselves. And I predicted this a long time ago, but it's very clear now. It's almost confirmed with all the dialogue in this chapter. I mean, there's a good 10 pages dedicated to this. Maybe not that much, but a good meat of the chapter. And basically, long story short, I mean, what can I say? Humans on the island have been turned into toys, like mentioned. They were all originally humans. And I guess what I didn't really understand was why everyone was so happy-go-lucky. And I guess it was assumed that there's some sort of mind wipe going on. And yes, it seems like I was correct with that as well. There is some sort of memory wipe. But there's still a lot of things I'm still unsure about. My prediction, though, and I might be wrong, I want to keep it humble here. Basically, the toys are being, changed with the devil fruit power. The humans are turned into toys. From there, there's another devil fruit user or a machine in the factory that can wipe your memory or alter it. And then they alter the toy's memory, and then they also alter the human's memory. So everything is happy. Why are they all being turned into toys? Who knows? Maybe the toys have better fighting capability, and they're planning on continuously building this army so that later on they can mind wipe / mind control them, and then feed this devil fruit that's manufactured Smile, and create an army of devil fruit users. I don't know. That's my far-fetched prediction. And maybe it's spot on. Who knows? We'll find out in 10 chapters from now. 10 to 20 to 30 chapters from now. And so we do know, though, that memories are wiped. They don't remember any recollection of the human who was turned into a toy. So even if the toy talked, they would not remember their husband or stuff like that. And one thing that was kind of like WTF was the wife who didn't remember the husband, and she was like, I've never had a husband. This is actually fairly common in this city or town. And I'm like, wow, what kind of mind wipe have you undergone? Have you forgotten how children are made, how human children are made? And I guess they have forgotten. I guess they just assume that the stork comes and they bring a human child down, and you don't need a husband to do that. So I guess that's how it's done. And yeah, it's a very thorough mind wipe. Why the toy is not wiped of memory, who knows? Maybe it can't be done on a toy, or they tend to regress or recall their memories faster somehow or something. And the human townfolk call it the human disease, when the toy starts acting very erratic and saying, I used to be human. But obviously we now know that this is just a rumor or myth spread to keep the humans and toys away. Now finally, the biggest thing, I almost forgot, that was the biggest thing, but this is the biggest thing. The 2 rules. I'm not going to restate them. You know the 2 rules. Fine, I'll restate them because you probably forgot. A toy can't enter a human house, and no one can stay up past midnight. Now this reminds me of a lot of past story arcs in other series. Not really that many, but there was this game, I can't remember what it was called. It was on the Nintendo DS. It was like sort of a puzzle game with a storyline, and the whole story revolved around that. And yeah, basically, my suspicion, and this might go with the cliche or generic answer, or generic expected way of this to work. Something is obviously going on after midnight each night. Maybe a mind wipe that has to occur every night past midnight, or some sort of hidden, forbidden technique or ritual or event that would ruin everything if the townspeople found out, or somehow undo everything. And so obviously, the clear thing is they have to stay up past midnight and find out. So I can't wait to see that. And why they can't enter a human house. One is probably it has to do with the fact that well, maybe if they enter the human house, the toys can explain everything to the humans, and then the humans might be like, "You might be right. You might be onto something. I don't remember you, but let's investigate." Or, and this is point two, maybe everything gets undone if a toy enters a human house. Like the magic of the devil fruit gets undone, so everyone remembers everything. That's another future speculation, prediction. And yeah, it's crazy stuff. I'm assuming it's one of the two or both. And yeah, I guess what's happening is the toys and humans have to be separated. Like they don't seem to be separated in the town, but they have to be separated. Otherwise, wouldn't the toys be like, "I used to be a human," blah 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 blah. And I guess it's because the Don Quixote family has so many guards around that they will again take away anyone that gets close, or begins speaking. And so it does make sense. I and it references that dog again, that toy dog, who was, he knew he was the husband and the father of the family, but it was pretty obvious that he chose to keep silent and pretend to be a toy dog, because if he spoke, it would warn him nothing but arrest and total complete isolation forever from his family. So he'd rather be around his family pretending than completely isolated. So it makes sense. So that's it for this review. Like, rate, comment as always, and subscribe is completely free. Hit the button down below. And as always, if you have your own predictions, speculation, advice, discussion, feedback, or just further talk you want to talk about, leave it down in the comments below. I will see you guys later, and this has been Will. I will be signing out. Peace.